As the old saying goes, you should mess with the king of hell, not the bricklayer. Because if the king of hell wants you dead, he will at least take a line in the book of life and death. But if the bricklayer wants your life, he will make sure that the grass on your grave is more than 1 meter long. If it is tall, you won't even know how you died. Welcome to listen to the recording of Ghostmaster. Don't mess with the bricklayer. The incident happened in Jiang Village, Jilin, northeast China. It was 2005. The village chief couldn't keep Jiaoqing's new army. The banquet lasted until late at night, and the guests gradually dispersed. He couldn't keep Jiaoqing's new army. He was in high spirits because of the happy event. He drank a lot of wine, sent off the guests, and then fell asleep happily on the new bed in the new house. But he never expected that he would never wake up from this sleep. Guozhong was in the remaining time at that time, but he couldn't keep Jiaoqing's new army. He woke up from the cold in the middle of the night. He got up tremblingly and went to the cabinet to get the quilt. But when he turned around, he found that there was still a person lying in his quilt. The man's face was gray and his brows were black, as if he had passed out. Lu Biubo took the courage to approach and saw that the man was actually himself. At this time, the Kong he was sleeping on was no longer a newly made Kong, but a huge coffin. Such a strange and bizarre scene frightened Lu Biubo so much that he screamed with joy and then fainted. Early the next morning, Lu Biubo's wife Suihua called him to get up. After eating, she found that Lu Biubo's body was so cold that it was almost stiff. Fortunately, there was still a faint breath, so he rushed her to the hospital. After the doctor examined her, he regretfully told Suihua that although she was still breathing, she was only her last breath left. There was no hope for her with injections or medicine, so she should be taken back to prepare for her funeral. This sudden bad news made Suihua cry. That night, the family stayed by Lu Biubo's side, ready to send him off for the last time. At night, Lu Deju, the son of Lu Bu, went to the academy to urinate, but saw a tall figure in white standing in front of his window. He looked sneaky and didn't look like a good person. The boy was brave enough to get close to him and wanted to take a closer look, but he found that the man was pale, with a long tongue and a gloomy face. Isn't this the duty of Bai Wuchen? Lu Deju was scared and cried, and the adults in the house ran out to check. Lu Deju pointed to the window and said that Bai Wuchen was standing there. But when everyone looked over, there was no one under the window. Lu Deju was still in shock and talked about the horrible scene he had just seen. Although it was a child's nonsense, Suihua felt something was wrong. She quickly asked someone to go to the new village to look back at Huan Banxian. But after seeing this, Huan Banxian also shook his head helplessly. Suihua cried desperately and begged Huan Banxian to help her think of a solution. Huan Banxian was the most soft-hearted person. He couldn't bear to see a woman cry, so he looked around the house. Suddenly, he looked at the new Kong under Lu Bushu and exclaimed, "There's something wrong with this Kong." Huan Banxian found a ruler and measured it. Sure enough, the Kong was wide at one end and narrow at the other. The wide end was high and the narrow end was low. This was not a Kong for sleeping, but a coffin for the dead. Huan Banxian asked Suihua, "Who made this soup?" Suihua said that it was the mason who built the new house and made it for him. Huan Banxian asked again, but he offended the mason. Suihua suddenly remembered that she couldn't keep the string when she built the house. The mason was slow and cursed a few dirty words. The mason was so angry that he had no words to say. This mason is rich and powerful. He is arrogant and domineering on weekdays. He is used to seeing the mason dare to talk back, so he rushed up and punched him. And Bricklayer knew that he could not afford to offend, so he had to swallow his anger and make a beautiful sound. However, this bricklayer became even more aggressive. He was the top 10 in the list, and he deducted 300 yuan for no reason. Huan Banxian sighed after hearing this, saying that as the saying goes, it is better to offend the king of hell than to offend you. This bricklayer, this is really self-inflicted, and you can't lie. Don't say anything, just smash the pig quickly. The family smashed Shin Kong to pieces overnight and found a little man with yellow nails buried in the pit, with two big characters written on it, which was the name of Yobu. Later, Huan Daxing grew up late, and the boy's urine poured into Yobu's mouth, which saved his life. But since then, Yobu's health has been worse than before, and he has to be beaten every few days. Besides, when the bricklayer was building a house for someone else, he fell from the roof and broke a leg-long skirt. He became unskilled at work, and few people could do